Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
On this wonderful Sabbath day in the middle of the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm glad to be up here speaking again. It has been a little while.
Welcome back.
Yes. So, let me get right into what I want to say here. Because I've heard Brother Larry's message this morning about talking about with Yahweh dealing with creation and so forth. And part of it is with the creation, that goes with creation, is the signs and wonders in the Bible. And the signs and wonders are, it's all over. And I believe it's also changes as it goes on, the way things happen, because Yahweh wanted to make sure that people understood that there was nothing more powerful than Him. And people being hardened of heart, He wanted to make sure that they understood that, hey, I'm powerful, and nothing is more powerful than I am. But I could go earlier in Genesis and different things and touch on some of what Larry wrote, was talking about, where Abraham sacrificing his son, and then he was given away out of it at Yahweh's will. But I decided to start my message dealing in Exodus at chapter 3. So, in Exodus chapter 3, this is when Yahweh first appeared to Moses. So in chapter 3, verse 1, now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of Yahweh, even to Horeb. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, but the bush was not consumed. That right there is a sign, if I ever saw or heard one. That is a sign. That you start a fire now, what's going to happen to the wood? It burns up, becomes ash. But a bush burning and not being consumed by the fire is a sign. And it was a sign to Moses. Hey, it's something to pay attention to. In verse 3, and Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Yahweh called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here I am. And he said, draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. So he wanted to make sure that Moses didn't do something he shouldn't be doing in his presence. Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Yahweh. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. So Yahweh's telling Moses right there that he's listening. He knows what's going on. He sees what's happening. Like Larry said, nothing's not going on that Yahweh doesn't know about. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel has come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians have oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, and thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. So Yahweh's tasking Moses. And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, that I have sent thee when thou hast brought forth the people of Egypt, out of Egypt. Ye shall serve Yahweh upon this mountain. And Moses said unto Yahweh, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the Elohim of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? And Yahweh said unto Moses, I am that I am. So, just basically that sign to Moses that there is no other. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. And Yahweh said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto you, unto all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, of Isaac, and Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt unto the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall hearken to the voice, and thou shalt come, thou and the elders of Israel, unto the king of Egypt, and ye shall say unto him, Yahweh, Elohim of the Hebrews, hath met with us, and now let us go, we beseech thee, 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahweh our Elohim. And I am sure that the king of Egypt will not let you go, no, not by a mighty hand. So Yahweh is telling him, hey, this is going to happen. Bring the people to Pharaoh, go tell him to let us go. And he's not going to. He's telling him before he even goes to see him, this is going to happen. He's giving Moses these signs of what is going to happen and what to expect. Verse 20, and I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do in the midst thereof. And after that he will let you go. And I will give his people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass that when ye go, ye shall not go empty. So, the sign to Moses there is laid out straightforward. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to expect. And he's going to say no. And I am going to show my strength to him. And eventually he will let you go. So, the next part that I want to bring up is chapter 7. in Exodus, starting in verse 1. So this is the first time that Moses is speaking before any of the plagues that Yahweh had put against Egypt. In chapter 7, Yahweh said unto Moses, See, I have made thee as Elohim to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. So Yahweh is specifically telling Moses, I am going to show the signs and wonders, and they are going to tremble when this happens. And at the time when it is deemed right, Pharaoh will let you go. And as we know from readings that there were 7 signs that Yahweh provided. And in Exodus 14, that's where I want to go to in discussing what happened after Yahweh had let him finally, or after Pharaoh finally let him go. Exodus chapter 14, verse 15. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And that is a significant sign for people of Israel knowing that Yahweh has extreme power. Because, you're looking at water, and then you're going to walk on dry land. I can't make water disappear and the land be dry by myself. So, in verse 17, And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and all his hosts, his chariots and his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have gained honor over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the angel of Yahweh, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came between the camp and the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near to the other all the night. So throughout the night, that pillar was providing light for them to see, yet it also provided darkness for the Egyptians. In verse 21, And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land. And the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went to the midst of the sea upon the dry ground. The waters were a wall unto them their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them in the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses and his chariots and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, Yahweh looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, and the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. So just as quickly as Yahweh was able to part the sea and make it dry land, he allowed Moses to then put the sea back to the strength it normally is, as a sign to the Egyptians that, hey, don't mess with my people. And it wasn't just signs and wonders that Yahweh did for, yes, Jeffrey, yes.
Light on?
No, I can't get this light on.
Gotta hold it. 3 seconds. There you go.
Yes.
I always found it, sorry, my voice is a little off, so I apologize. I always found it very interesting, I think just reading that, it was I feel like if anyone saw that whole Moses moving, it was very like instantaneous, you know, waved his hand and the water just rose. But it actually was something that happened through the course of the night, by the winds, which kind of magnifies the strength. Because I remember a lot of the gods that were killed through their plagues that came through had control over natural forces. And so when you're looking at these natural forces, not only, he's not just raising the water, he's using the wind to lift it up while protecting them with a column of smoke or a column of clouds. So they're watching this happen through the course of the night. I'm sure they're watching the water slowly separate, rise up, just to improve like the power he had over nature itself.
Yeah.
After he just decimated their crops, firstborn, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have been pretty insane to watch that happen as well. And then for the wind to just cease and drop on them after Israel had crossed over by the wave of their hand.
Just by the wave of his hand. Yeah, it is interesting on how that happens, but you got to think that it's the power of Yahweh in showing the signs to the people, because it's not just the signs to people of other races and cultures, because I mean that was the sign to the Egyptians, basically leave the people of Israel alone and let them go, let them be. I mean, Yahweh also had to show signs to the people of Israel, and so that they would understand, hey, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I am here for you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to guide you to be my children, to be my people. And doing that and showing that they can walk through on dry land without any issues or problems was one thing, but we also have in Exodus 19, Exodus 19, starting in verse 9. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in the thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall surely be put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man. It shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and then washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, Be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning, that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so all the people that was in the camp trembled. Exceeding loud. He did that to prove a point to the people. And the people trembled at it. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Yahweh, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahweh descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. So it was extremely loud, and then the whole area quaked. That was a sign for the people of Israel, so that they would understand and know that there's nothing you can do. I am here, and I am the one that you need to be praying to. I'm the one that you need to be asking for help and guidance from. So, Yahweh showed signs and wonders, awe-inspiring signs and wonders to the people of Egypt, so that the Pharaoh would let his people go, to the people of Israel, so that they would follow him and do as he wants, do as he instructed. But then, of course, they didn't always listen. So they didn't listen for so long, for 40 years. And then after the 40 years, Joshua comes out. And in Joshua 6, they came upon Jericho. And this to me is a sign for the people. Not just for the people of Israel, for others to know that Yahweh was supporting the people of Israel. In Joshua 6, starting in verse 1, Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out.
What chapter was that?
Joshua 6.
6 chapter.
Joshua 6, verse 1. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went in or out. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thy hands Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. Ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go around about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns, and on the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the great when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, All the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend upon every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh. And he said unto the people, pass on, encompass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of Yahweh. And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns passed on before Yahweh, and blew with the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh followed them. And the armed men went before the priests and blew with the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, and the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I bid you shout, and then shall ye shout. So the ark of Yahweh compassed the city, going round about it once, and they came into the camp, and lodged in the camp. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of Yahweh, and the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh went on continually, and blew with the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the rear guard came after the ark of Yahweh, and the priests going on and blowing with the trumpets. And the second day they compassed the city once, and returned to the camp. And so they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day, that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times, and it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, shout, for Yahweh hath given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein. To Yahweh only Rahab the harlot shall live, and she and all that are with her in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. Yes, Curtis.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. I know that some way you're discussing these 7 trumpets, and there's an amazing parallel between the trumpets of Joshua's time and the 7 trumpets we find in Revelation.
Yes.
Every one of them are a prelude to a judgment. And the 7th trumpet in Joshua's time we see the fall of Jericho. We look forward to Revelation. When that is sealing the fate and announcing the judgment, amongst other things, the fall of Babylon. Every one of these trumpets had one warning or another.
That's a sign from Yahweh right there.
But everything you discuss also doesn't have this meaning from time past. Amazingly, they're types of something else, of a more perfect fulfillment in the future. Or am I getting ahead of you?
I wasn't going to go into that part yet on my message, Curtis. I was basically going to reference about the signs and wonders, what he did in the past
Okay.
first, and then relate it to how things worked when actually the Messiah came, and it wasn't really signs and wonders that were needed when the Messiah came, because we don't need signs and wonders now, because right now our focus should be in our faith, because that's what we need, is faith that Yahweh is going to be there for us. And it's, of course, the scriptures saying our faith in what we know, not necessarily what we see, because we don't see Yahweh, but we know he's there, and we have faith that he's there and he's going to protect us. Do you have something?
I was going to say that I think it's very significant that there's going to be punishing judgment globally on those that are violating the ninth commandment and lying. And yet we see like the shipwreck, who was midwives in Egypt with the deliverance of the Hebrew babies. And here we have a woman who bore false witness and lied when the authorities, as we read in the account, that she's rewarded inside of here because she bore false witness and told the authorities they went that way, they're not here. When they indeed, according to the account of Scripture, were hidden up under masks on the word. So, was she lying in the technical sense? Yes, but she was not bearing false witness against a neighbor, but indeed to save life. Brother, I'm not going to be a little gloomy here, but we may see a time when we're alive in this wretched, dying world that we will need to bear not false witness in a way that is unacceptable to Yahweh, but it will be to save life. And that is commended by what you read in Exodus 1. The midwives were commended by Yahweh because they were saving the life of people. I think it's very important to nuance that when we understand the nature of false witness, whatever that's worth to you, pray about it, you haven't considered it. I have for 50 plus years now. That has not changed when I see in Scripture that there is a desire for life. Like we heard yesterday, Larry's teaching. Yahweh is all about life, and life eternal ultimately. And it's just a remarkable sign and wonder in the heart of Rahab that she believed that there was an invincible army coming to Yahweh. For the signs and wonders Jim's talking about. That could not be stopped, and she wanted to be properly on the true winning side.
I do agree with that as well, Tom. Rahab in her house was saved because of what she did. And I mean, if it wasn't for the hand of Yahweh guiding her to do that, I mean, it could have been a different outcome.
Oh, yeah.
But in addition to that, and I do believe Joshua and the people of Israel would have still prevailed, whether the outcome was different or not. But I mean, the only difference would have been that Rahab would have been basically destroyed with everybody else in Jericho. But it did not happen, and they prevailed. But that was a sign to the people of Jericho that Yahweh was there to help them. Yahweh was there for them. Because I mean, the people of Israel, they took against the wall. No weapons went against the wall of Jericho. All they did was compass around the city and blow a ram's horn. And then the seventh day, 7 times, and then they shouted, and the walls came down. That's a sign. I've got a couple more signs that I want to touch on, and they're both in the book of Daniel. The first one is Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 3, starting in verse 14. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my Elah? or worship the golden image which I have set up. So at this point, Nebuchadnezzar had made a golden image for the people to bow down to and give praise to his mighty one, his God that he worships. And he was questioning Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego about this. Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that Elah that shall deliver you out of my hands? So I'm about to get to the sign here on this one. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Elah, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve your God, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed, against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spoke and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than was wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. These men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So, the first sign to me is that the people who took them to the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the furnace all burned to a crisp. There was nothing left of them. Okay. Verse 23, and these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was perplexed, and rose up in haste, and spoke, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? And they answered and said, True, O king. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the furnace of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the son of Elah. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near the mount of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Elah, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire, and the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was any hair on their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
Hallelujah.
They were in the middle of a furnace that burnt men to a crisp, and nothing was remaining from them. in the midst of that fire, and nothing happened to them. That was the first sign to Nebuchadnezzar that Yahweh's people they have something for them. Yes, Danny?
They didn't even smell like fire.
Didn't even smell it. Yes. Yes, dude.
Here.
Yes.
Just kind of backtrack a little bit. We just studied this last week, ironically. I found it, I found it interesting that the first thing they answered when he said, hey, is God going to save you? They're like, I mean, he can, but there's no guarantee. Like, they didn't throw Yahweh like, oh yeah, he got me. It's kind of like well, if he does it, he does it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not going to follow what you said because I know it is what it is. And then as we see like the character of Yahweh as a whole, I mean, anytime someone goes, well, Yahweh can't do this, Yahweh always, when he's like, oh, your God protects you in the plains and to the fields, but not here. They're like, oh, well, we want that one. So it's like, same thing. He's like, oh, well, can't your God protect you from fire? He's like, I mean, he can, but
If he wants to.
yeah, we proves it right there. And I find it interesting as well that we kind of a small detail we mentioned is that they're walking around loose. Now we just heard they were bound up, which means they went to the fire and the ropes and stuff that are bound them up were burned essentially completely along with the environment to the room. But they came out nothing.
But none of their clothes were damaged, none of their clothes were burned or anything.
Yes, everything that Yahweh had touched.
Yeah, everything that Yahweh protected.
Yeah, they
on
had
them.
trusted in
Yes. Yep.
Hallelujah.
Yep. But I want to read it also, verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake, and blessed be the Allah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own Allah. So he basically let them know, hey, nobody can force these guys to do what they shouldn't be doing, and nobody should. But of course, Nebuchadnezzar needed more than just that. Yes, Daniel.
That just reminds me of the scripture I think we read this morning, make your body a living sacrifice. That's the ultimate example right there. They made their bodies a living sacrifice.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Like I said, Nebuchadnezzar needed more than just throwing people into a fire. He, in Daniel chapter 6, starting in verse 16, as they, at this time, they were supposed to only bow down to his, Nebuchadnezzar's God, and not worship anyone else. Do what?
This is King Darius.
Oh, King Darius? Okay, so after Nebuchadnezzar, King Darius wasn't paying attention on that. Thank you, Jacob. So, I guess there are different changes. Yeah. People have different mindsets, right? So, verse 6, Daniel chapter 6, verse 16. The king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spoke, and unto Daniel, thy Elohim whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And the stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his nobles, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. And the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. And the king rose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, is thy Elohim, whom thou servest, continually able to deliver thee from the lions? And Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. So, my Elohim hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, and they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. Then the king, exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel out of the den. So Daniel was taken out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found on him, because he believed in his Elohim. He believed in Yahweh. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which has accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of the lions, them and their children and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and broke all their bones and pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. So that just shows Daniel was in there for a whole night and not a scratch. Nothing touched him. And as soon as he was taken out and the people who accused him were tossed in, the lions devoured him up. Yes, dear. Turn it on.
No, it is a second.
It's off. Hello.
There you go.
Another interesting thing I found about this little part right here is that, so the whole thing was that it was we were talking about how Yahweh judges the inner person of everybody, and the only reason they accuse him of this is they have to find one thing, and it even said that they're looking for any kind of flaw. It's the only way we'll be earlier in the chapter. The only way we'll be able to get anything against this guy is if we use his faith against him. And that's what they created the whole temptation.
Created a law.
Yeah, and then they trapped the king.
Yeah.
Because you see how the king was very, he was sad. He said he was lamenting about it because he loved Daniel as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing was that he, haphazardly agreed with their plan as far as, oh yeah, you should definitely be praising me because I'm so great, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was part of their custom. They mentioned a couple times. The custom was that once you made the law as king, that was it. Like it was set in stone. What they said was law. They can't even take their own word back because they were fighting with that.
Because if he didn't toss him in, it would have made him look bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. So like it's just part of their laws in general. So like he's like, I can't even take this back because he tried to hold off. And they kept bugging him like, hey, remember our laws say you have to go in here is your word. That's why he goes that whole night fasting and unable to sleep.
Yeah.
Just in sorrow because I can't do this. So it's an important like wonder or a sign that doesn't go along with the message that Yahweh changed his word because when these kings say they would have like Nebuchadnezzar and stuff previously and Belshazzar is like whenever they gave the law or word that was fine. When the king says goes period the end. But there's multiple examples where Yahweh's like, yeah, but I'm the king of kings. So he's like, your word doesn't mean nothing to me, but I say it's fine.
Yeah. Yahweh's judgment is final. Whatever any king says or does is not final. But as you can tell, they like Jeffrey just mentioned, they have to do what they say they're going to do anyway. So, but now I want to change the track of this because I was going over, that was the signs and wonders that Yahweh did for people to show that nothing's more powerful than He is. But now, for us, yes, Virginia. Who? Yes, Larry.
one other scripture in the Bible that something similar like that happened. We often talk about scriptures are cyclical, but not always exact. It happened to Joshua when he was put to death and he was put into the tomb in order to keep somebody stealing his body. They put a signet ring to seal that tomb, but we know it was opened later. And it's interesting, those who similarly put Joshua in that tomb, they also was crushed by the Lion of Rome in the year 70 when the Roman army came in. Those who were responsible for Joshua's death likewise were literally thrown into the lions by that crushing Roman army.
Thank you for that, Larry. So, it's more now the signs and wonders are not all necessary for us to be able to ensure that we're following Yahweh's word. Because now it's more of our faith in what we do. And when the Messiah was here, he was proclaiming more of doing things and acknowledging people's faith in trusting that that he was the Messiah. In Matthew chapter 8, starting in verse 2, and behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Master, if thou wilt, thou can make me clean. And Yahshua put forth his hand and touched him, and saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. So the person with leprosy, the leper, came to him because he knew who the Messiah was. And if Yahshua, knowing what was in his heart, touched him, and his leprosy went away. And Yahshua said unto him, See thou, tell no man, go thy way and show thyself to the priest, and offer a gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them. And when Yahshua was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion beseeching him, and saying, Master, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Yahshua saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Master, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof. But speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. The centurion had the faith that all Yahshua had to do was say the word. Verse 9, For I am a man under authority, having soldiers go under me, and I say unto this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Yahshua heard it, he marveled, and said to the man that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in all Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into utter darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Yahshua said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. His belief, the centurion's belief. And I guess you have something, Tom.
I think it's quite remarkable that you see that this centurion was humble, quite evidently.
Mm-hmm.
He had compassion for the paralyzed servant. Didn't he believe because he knew the Jews and the Romans were not exactly on a good company.
Mm-hmm.
Jews thought the Romans were someone to avoid being savages and unclean. And yet, where does this, talk about a sign, I wonder, where does this Roman soldier get such faith and humility? Well, you go back to Genesis 12, and Abraham says that he will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. Curse who? Those of the remnant children of Israel, the covenant with him. So, here's a man who is doing that very thing of the Roman Empire under the oppression of Rome. And he gets, talk about a sign of wonder that spans the century, brethren. He gets this faith and humility to believe the Messiah can do what he actually did. So it shows that all the promises of Elohim are not yes and no, it's wrong, as the Corinthians, but there so be it. And he was honored supernaturally, talk about a sign of wonder, with even having the faith to believe this could happen and acknowledging the authority that Joshua had. And a man ends up unparalyzed and healed. And evidence of another sign of wonder, we can model that to the third day.
Yes. Thank you, Tom. But I was wanting to bring that up because to show the stark difference of what Yahweh did in showing Moses the burning bush, showing the signs and wonders that he did to Egypt to let the people go, and the different signs that he showed throughout in Jericho, just people marching around, and then the walls coming down on the seventh day. All those were big, obvious events. And then now the Messiah comes, and it's small things. It's the faith, the belief. You have something? I see that mic in your hand.
I think it's interesting as well for Yahshua did right here, both for the case of the leprosy, the leper person, and with the centurion, was that unlike in all the other examples that are given, he was always protecting Israel, right? Protecting them from like some kind of outsider. It kind of personifies, like these miracles alone personifies what Yahshua did by opening it up to the Gentiles and for everybody outside. If you remember back in the Torah, the leprous people were not allowed in the camp. You know, they were out. You're unclean, stay away from us. You know, be gone. So like the fact that he would even make contact and talk with them was mind-blowing to them. And then to take it a step further, to somebody who's a Gentile or somebody who's outside of Israel itself, and to perform some other miracle or sign for somebody like that. I mean, I can't think of, I'm sure Curtis and Johannes, somebody they might be able to but I can't think of an example in the Old Testament where it wasn't Israel that was benefiting with somebody who was kind of outside of Israel and shunned by Israel, who was blessed with a miracle and such.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Messiah, he came for the sinners, not for the people who, to bring people towards Yahweh. And that's what he came for. Also want to bring in Matthew 9, starting in verse 20. And if he was in a crowd, and behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years came behind him, touched the tassel of his garment. For she had within herself, if I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole. But Yahshua turned about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith hath made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. And then Yahshua came into the ruler's house and saw minstrels at the people making a noise. So we can go back on this because a ruler came up to the Messiah asking him to come help my daughter because they were saying she's dead. So in the crowd, the woman touched his garment. She became whole after that because of her faith. And in verse 24, and he said unto them, give place, for the maid is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. So they didn't believe him. She's not sleeping, she's dead. But when the people were put forth, he went in, took her by the hand, and she rose. So Joshua didn't make these grand things like the lightnings, the thunders. He was doing things to help people understand that it was more than just the signs and wonders, but it was our faith in the Messiah. It was our faith in Yahweh for things to happen, for us to be able to come forward and do what we need to do so that we can continue following in Yahweh's word. And it's our faith. Matthew 14. Matthew 14, verse 34. And then when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all the country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the tassel of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. They had the land he came to, Gennesaret. They had the faith and belief in the Messiah that all they needed to do was touch his garment, touch his clothes, and they would be whole. And it did. Matthew 20. Verse 30. And behold, two blind men sitting by the way, when they heard that Joshua passed by, cried out, saying, have mercy on us, O Master, thou son of David. And the multitude rebuked them, because they should hold their peace. But they cried the more, saying, have mercy on us, O Master, thou son of David. And Joshua stood still, called them, and said, what will ye that I shall do unto you? They say unto him, Master, that our eyes may be opened. And Joshua had compassion on them, touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. So, and just the faith and belief that the Messiah can do these things. They knew who he was. They knew what he could do, and they had the faith that he could help them see again. So it went from awe-inspiring signs and wonders to people having faith, people having to believe that the Messiah was here for us, he came for us, and he is there for us. He is our salvation. He is for us to lead us to Yahweh. So, that was all I had. If there's any other questions, comments? That'll be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.